In the rugged hills of the kingdom of Swadia, the town of ruined fort buzzed with anticipation. Lord Harlus, a grizzled veteran of countless campaigns, had called a grand feast to celebrate a rare moment of peace between the warring factions of Calradia. Nobles, knights, and mercenaries from across the land gathered in the stone-walled hall, their banners fluttering in the wind atop the crumbling battlements. The air was thick with the scent of roasted boar, ale, and unspoken rivalries. But the revelry ceased when a scream pierced the night. Sir Aldric, a young and ambitious Swadian knight known for his skill with a lance, was found dead in the courtyard, a dagger buried in his chest. Blood pooled beneath him, staining the cobblestones crimson. His sword lay unsheathed beside him, untouched. The feast turned to chaos as accusations flew like arrows. You, a wandering sellsword with a keen mind and a scarred past, were among the guests. Lord Harlaus, his face flushed with rage and ale, tasked you with uncovering the killer before dawn. "Find the cur who dared spill blood under my roof," he growled, "or I'll have every man here strung up to save the trouble." The suspects were many, each with motive and opportunity. Lady Isola of Suno, a disgraced noble seeking to reclaim her title. Aldric had publicly mocked her claim at the feast, calling her a crownless pretender. Jarl Turigor, a grizzled Nord warrior from across the sea, who'd lost a duel to Aldric earlier that day and swore vengeance in front of all. Count Clargus, a scheming Swadian lord whose lands bordered Aldric's, rumored to have coveted the knight's holdings. Marnid the merchant, a shifty trader who'd argued with Aldric over unpaid debts, seen slipping out of the hall just before the scream. Bunduk, a grizzled crossbowman and former soldier, who despised Aldric's arrogance and had been overheard muttering threats. You began your investigation, the weight of the task pressing on you like a mailed fist. The courtyard was dimly lit by flickering torches, the wind howling through the fort's broken walls. Examining Aldric's body, you noticed the dagger was no common blade. It bore the intricate etchings of a Vegir craftsman, its hilt wrapped in red leather. A curious choice for a Swadian knight's demise. First, you questioned Lady Isola. She sat by the hearth, her regal poise unshaken. "Aldric was a fool," she said coolly, "but I'd not dirty my hands with his blood. I fight my battles in courts, not shadows." Her alibi seemed solid. Several vassals swore she'd never left the hall. Next, Jarl Turigor loomed over you, his axe resting against the wall. "I hated the whelp," he admitted, his breath reeking of mead. "Beat me in that cursed tourney with a coward's trick, but I'd have split him with my axe, not skulked with a dagger." His hands were rough and calloused, but clean of blood. A Nord warrior's pride might indeed scorn such a subtle kill. Count Clargus was less forthcoming, his sly smile betraying little. "Aldric was a thorn in my side," he said, swirling his goblet. "But why risk my station over a petty knight?" Servants confirmed he'd been deep in conversation with Harlaus when the scream rang out, though you wondered if a man of his cunning might have hired another's hand. Marnid fidgeted as you approached, his eyes darting to the door. "I owed him nothing," he snapped. "He refused to pay for my goods, said they were spoiled. I was checking my wares when it happened." No one could vouch for his whereabouts, and his cloak bore a faint smear of mud from the courtyard. Bunduk, leaning against a pillar with his crossbow at his side, spat on the floor. "Aldric was a swaggering ass. Thought himself better than us common folk. But I'd put a bolt through his heart, not creep about with a knife." His blunt honesty rang true, and his hands bore no signs of a struggle. As the night deepened, you pieced together the clues. The Vagir dagger gnawed at you. Few in this Swadian stronghold would wield such a weapon. Then a memory struck. Earlier, you'd seen a cloaked figure bartering with a traveling Vagir merchant in the fort's shadow. The merchant had vanished after the feast began. Tracking muddied boot prints from the courtyard, you found a hidden nook behind the stables. There, tucked beneath a hay bale, lay a bloodied rag and a pouch of silver dinars, Swadian coin, not Vagir. Nearby, a discarded wineskin carried the faint scent of almonds, a telltale sign of poison, though Aldrich's death had come by steal. The truth clicked into place. You returned to the hall and called the suspects before Lord Harlaus. "The killer isn't among the nobles or warriors," you declared, your voice cutting through the murmurs. "It was Marnid's hand that struck, but not his will alone." Marnid paled as you continued. "You slipped out to meet the Vagir merchant, didn't you? He sold you the dagger and a poisoned wineskin, a backup plan Aldrich never drank from. But who paid you?" Your gaze shifted to Count Clargus, whose smile faltered. The silver was Swadian, fresh from Clargus's coffers. He wanted Aldrich's lands, but couldn't risk the deed himself. You were his blade, Marnid. The merchant stammered, then bolted, only to be felled by Bunduk's crossbow as he reached the door. Clargus rose, protesting, but Harlaus's guards seized him. "Clever work," the lord rumbled, tossing you a purse of gold. "Calradia's filth runs deep, but you've cut out a piece of it tonight." As dawn broke over ruined fort, the feast resumed, though the air remained heavy with suspicion. In Calradia, peace was fleeting, and mysteries, it seemed, were as common as the clash of swords.